Hello students. Hello. Hello Astha. Hello Astha. Astha. Hello. Hello Ananya. Himani. Nishtha. Hello. Hello Astha. Good morning बच्चे. Okay, just let me see it. क्या problem है? अब देखो बच्चे. हेलो.
यस सर, अब हो गया.
ठीक है, ओके. Good morning to all of you. So I shall be starting with this lecture on somatic embryogenesis 2. In the somatic embryogenesis 1, some aspects we have studied, particularly patterning and some of the factors affecting somatic embryogenesis. So continuing with that, we shall be continuing today's lecture. Let me see if we are recording it. Yes. So somatic embryo maturation and germination. Somatic embryo germination can occur only when the embryos are mature enough and capable of meristematic growth. This statement says a lot of things about the somatic embryo germination. The major problem with this somatic embryogenesis is the conversion of embryos into plants, that is germination. That is one of the bottleneck in many of the important plant species where somatic embryogenesis has been possible, but the conversion of embryos to the plantlets, and more precisely efficient conversion of embryos to the plantlets. That is, if we are producing 10,000 embryos, if we germinate one or two, that does not mean efficient. So out of 10,000, if we are germinating 8,000, 9,000, that is the efficient germination. So that is the problem. So in order to address this problem, one of the major finding has been, which has been a reason which has been responsible for the non-conversion of embryo into plantlet is they're not getting matured. That is, the maturation is not taking place. And so long as the embryo does not go through the process of maturation, the capability of meristematic growth is not attained. Thus, the embryos do not germinate. So, in order to achieve the efficient conversion in those plants, it is very important to achieve the efficient embryo maturation. Those somatic embryos show poor germination or plantlet formation. This is because these embryos do not go through maturation phase, which is a characteristics of zygotic embryogenesis. Now, embryo maturation is characterized by, now what happens during the embryo maturation? It is characterized by accumulation of embryo specific reserve food material and protein. So in different plant, the food material which is stored as a reserve for the growth of the embryo or the seed is different. In cereals, most of the cereals, we have carbohydrate and starch as a reserve food, whereas in many of these pulses, the reserve food is protein. And in some plants which are oil seed plant, in addition to that, there is a good amount of fats present for the embryos as a reserve food. So this has to happen. So this is an important aspect for the normal germination. Food material and protein that imparts. So these things imparts desiccation tolerance and thereby promote the natural normal germination. Now, what is a desiccation tolerance? We know that seeds of many of the plant species, they are having very less water content, very less water content. Sometimes the water content goes as low as 2-3%. Do you think the under normal condition, the plant can survive, life can survive with 2 to 3% of water content? It's not possible. And this process of losing water by the embryo and still retaining the viability is called desiccation. So it is important aspect. The normal embryos of many plants, seeds of many plants goes through the process of desiccation. And this is the desiccation. When embryo goes through the desiccation, we say it is going through the phase of maturation. And during desiccation, ABA, which prevents precocious germination and promotes normal development, desiccation and maturation of the embryo in several species. Abscisic acid is a plant growth regulator. It is also called in a very loose sense growth inhibitor. So abscisic acid accumulates that prevents precocious germination of the embryo, force it through the process, takes it through the process of desiccation and maturation, and ultimately prepare it for the efficient germination in a synchronous manner. A number of other factors such as temperature, heat shock, osmotic stress, nutrient deprivation, and high density inoculum can substitute for ABA, presumably by inducing the embryo to synthesize this plant growth regulator. So basically what happens, these all kind of stresses to the embryos during the maturation phase cause the culture to produce its own abscisic acid, because abscisic acid is also produced at high level under stress conditions. So this production of endogenous ABA or the ABA by the tissue itself, we call this as endogenous ABA, thus eliminates the requirement of exogenous, that is incorporation of ABA into the medium. ABA is known to trigger the expression of genes which normally express during the drying down phase of the seed. So ABA also drives the expression of the genes involved in the process of desiccation. Probably the product of these genes impart desiccation tolerance to the embryo. Now, secondary embryogenesis. This is another concept, what we call it as secondary embryogenesis. Students, if you remember, I discussed with you a couple of times pre-embryogenic determined cells, which does not require induction and can go through the process of embryogenesis even in the absence of any induction. These cells do not require induction. And then I told you these cells are present in abundance in the during the tissue in the juvenile phase, and the most juvenile phase is embryo. Thus the embryo is known to contain many cells. So these cells which are present in the embryonic stages can easily get rooted through the process of embryogenesis. So that results in the induction of embryo from embryo, and this is called secondary embryogenesis or recurrent embryogenesis. And in this new embryo starts developing from the primary somatic embryo, from the pre-embryogenic determined cells, PEDCs. If you remember my statement at that time, there are certain advantages of secondary embryogenesis, such as high multiplication. So this increases the multiplication rate, certainly. Culture retain embryogenic potential for a longer time. Generally, this is a very big statement. Culture retain embryogenic potential for a long time. Why? Because once we induce the embryogenesis in the cultures, a crop of embryo is produced that passes through the different phases and mature. And after one or two crops, the culture which is producing the embryos, either we lose that culture, or most of the time what happens, that culture itself lose the potential to go through the process of embryogenesis. Thus, we need to initiate the culture again for the process of embryogenesis, and it becomes a recurrent phenomenon. But when this secondary embryogenesis is taking place, we do not, if we retain some of the embryos which are producing high number of secondary embryos, then we can retain part of the culture, and that will continue to attain the process or potential to go through the process of embryogenesis for a longer period of time. Large number of embryos from the rescued embryos. This is a big phenomenon I want to discuss with you. A concept what we call as embryo rescue. Generally, embryo rescue is not related to much related to tissue culture. This is being done when we have embryo in the field and that embryo gets aborted. So in order to prevent that embryo for the abortion, we dissect out the embryo before abortion and culture it onto the medium and produce plant. If it produces only one plant, it should produce only one plant, then we get only one plant. If there is a process of secondary embryogenesis there, and then we get a crop of embryos from the single embryo, and then we can get large number of plant, or you can say as many plant as we want. And this particular concept is very important when we discuss, when we think of a distance hybridization or a hybridization between the two species which are incompatible at a particular stage where the embryo abortion take place on the female plant at a particular stage of development. So such abortion can be prevented, and we can go through the dissection of that embryo, dissecting out that embryo and culturing out the medium, and this process is called embryo rescue, and it has got a big application in the uh, area of plant breeding that provides breeder with a tool that gives him opportunity to go just beyond the species to undertake the breeding program. So embryo fermentation is possible for the production. Now many secondary metabolites are produced by the embryonic stages. If we have some secondary metabolite produced by the embryos, which can be produced by the process of embryo fermentation, then embryo fermentation is only possible if we can have a mechanism for the secondary embryogenesis, which is very important for the embryo fermentation for the production of such important secondary metabolites. Synchronization of the embryo development. What is synchronization? The development of the somatic embryo is not synchronous mostly. That is, we have a culture. In the culture, the embryos are at different stage of development or maturation. So when we are handling such a culture where embryo are at different stages of development, then it becomes difficult to undertake a stage specific intervention. Suppose we want to undertake the embryo for maturation. We have only out of 1000 embryo, 100 embryo which are ready for the maturation and 90 embryo not ready for the maturation. They are at different stages of development. Then it becomes very difficult to take that culture through the maturation medium onto the maturation medium induced for the maturation. In the contrary, if we have a crop of embryo which is pretty synchronous, that is out of 100, 90 are at one stage that we can take it for the maturation, we can easily go for the process of maturation and undertake the process of maturation for the conversion. Then this is important. This is also important. The embryo development is not synchronous. Different maturations affects the differential maturation affects the commercialization of the process, such as synthetic seed formation and conversion into plantlet. So this problem also poses the problem with the beside maturation, then conversion of plantlet subsequently, and also synthetic seed formation. Now let us take the example. Suppose we have a culture, two cultures. Just I explain it to you. Suppose we have a two to three type of culture. One is this. Three is this. So in all cases, so here you have 200 embryos developing, 200 embryo developing. Now this is a not synchronized stage. Only embryo at mature embryo ready for maturation. Ready for maturation. So in this case, say only 20 embryo are there because that's a not synchronized. Say this is synchronized. This is also say synchronized. So here you can say 180 embryos at this stage. Here also 180 embryos. Okay. Now, so when we take the process of maturation, say 18 embryo mature here, 170 mature here, 170. So what we can do if we undertake the conversion, if it's a high conversion frequency, we may get 16 converted. Here we may get 160 converted. Here we say low conversion, so 150, 130 converted. Only conversion rate. Mature and desiccated. This is converted. converted, synthetic seed. So here we get 160 plants, 130 plants, and only 16 plants. And suppose here we are producing the synthetic seed, we can produce only 16. We can produce 170, sorry, 18, 170 and 170 synthetic seeds. Then you see the efficiency. This can be transported to the long distance used, can be stored for conservation. And here only this much is possible. 18 is only possible. We cannot undertake the storage of all. So the purpose of explaining is that this synchronization is very important, except for the process of embryo maturation, conversion, and ultimately the embryo technology. It's important concept. So this particular commercialization is possible. It's not possible if it is not properly synchronized. Mostly induction followed by physical separation. How we achieve the synchronization? Induction of embryogenesis followed by physical separation at early embryonic stages, and change to appropriate media containing growth regulator which are stage specific can lead to the process of synchronization. Can lead to the process of synchronization. So that is important. So how we can induce the synchronization? What we do, we take the culture at a particular stage after induction, and then we just separate out the culture. One part we maintain it where the embryogenesis can take place continuously, and other part we take where, say I told you, see the development at glandular stage we have to withdraw the auxins. So if we withdraw the auxin in the culture, then probably the embryo will start developing further in a synchronized manner in that culture. So this synchronized crop of embryos may also not result in secondary embryogenesis, and we may go through the developmental stages which we get the mature embryo that can be taken for the desiccation and further development. In suspension culture, what we do in suspension culture, fractionation of the embryos to segregate the different stages by filtration. So we have a mesh of different sizes, and then we segregate the cell clump, pre-embryonic masses of different size. And these pre-embryonic masses, they form the embryos of different developmental stages depending upon their size, and we can get a synchronous crop of embryos. This is the second method. Another effective method to achieve the synchronous development of the somatic embryo is the use of PGR that inhibits somatic embryogenesis. So as I told you, in this case, when we separate and then we use the PGR that inhibits the secondary embryogenesis, only induced and embryo which are developing will only grow. Thus we can achieve the process of synchrony. ABA at low concentration is used to develop for the development and maturation of embryos. So ABA can be used for the development of maturation of embryo which are synchronous. Now differential pattern of somatic embryo development in on a medium containing 2,4-D and kinetin, and somatic embryo germination and conversion. This slide has been taken from one of the paper where very nice embryogenesis has been shown. You can see this is a callus, and these shiny structures are the initial development of the embryos. These structures, then these structures, they start growing, and ultimately this is a structure which ultimately lead to the formation of this is a typical embryonic stage. Now you see there's nothing like plumule. There's nothing like plumule. If we just want to induce a plumule for growth, we need to undertake the process of desiccation and maturation. Only then we get the mature embryos which can germinate and get us the plants. So this is a very, very important concept. Now, what are the factors affecting somatic embryogenesis? It depends upon species. Although MS is widely used, among the media, first is media formulation that varies with the species. Although MS is used in most of the cases, but in general, it has been seen that higher concentration of reduced nitrogen is beneficial for the process of somatic embryogenesis. Addition of amino acids and organic supplements promoted the process of somatic embryogenesis. Incorporation of potassium ion at higher concentration is another very important. These are the media components. So what are the media components? Reduced nitrogen, potassium, and some of the amino acids and organic supplements. These are beneficial for the process of somatic embryogenesis. Since Murashki and Skog media, MS media, contain a high amount of reduced nitrogen, it has been effectively used for the process of somatic embryogenesis, or has been very effective for the process of somatic embryogenesis in many plant species. Another aspect is genotype. Just I would like to highlight you here is in plant tissue culture, plant biotechnology, most of the processes are genotype dependent. Say in the same plant, eucalyptus, if we have one genotype, other genotype, because the genotypic variations are among the individual or clones. So you will have the variation from individual to individual and clone to clone. Okay. So such variations are called genotype dependent variation, and we need to specify or optimize condition for all tissue culture processes, including somatic embryogenesis, for the different plants of the same species even. So all optimization are genotype specific. So if we want to prepare a protocol for a particular genotype, we cannot replicate it from the other genotype. We need to develop for that. Of course, that can work among the clone. Within the clone, it's okay, because the members of the clone are having same genotype. They are not different with respect to the genotype. Explant type is another very, very important aspect of somatic embryogenesis, which I have discussed with you at length. I told you during juvenile phase, you have more pre-embryogenic determinants. So cells easily undergo the process of embryogenesis. Therefore, in most of the cases, embryogenesis has been achieved from the embryonic material also. Only from the embryonic material or the juvenile material. As the plant gets mature, the potential to induce the embryogenesis reduces. Thus, an explant taken from the young and juvenile material can get us better response than the explant taken from the mature. It has been said that a young material can result in the, say, embryo. If it can get us somatic embryogenesis in 80%, then seedling can get in 60%, and mature plant may not get in 6%. So that is the scale. This juvenility and young material, it operates. Old and mature explants, they give us poor response as compared to the young and juvenile material. And one thing more, which is again genotype dependent, but is a different aspect, entire together not listed here, is a type of plant. It is these processes, all tissue culture processes are easy in annuals and herbaceous material, and these become difficult in perennial and woody species. So as the tissue culture as easy it has been in herbaceous, it has not been as easy in woody species. Carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is a very important, although it is not a plant growth regulator, it plays a very important role in the process of rooting as well as somatic embryogenesis. Carbohydrate, because this carbohydrate uh, play a role at different level. Generally, it has been beneficial for somatic embryogenesis, and sucrose has been a carbohydrate of choice. What it is doing? It is increasing the osmoticum of the medium. If we have higher sucrose concentration, it is helpful in uh, giving stress to the embryo for the induction of ABA synthesis, help in desiccation by increasing the osmoticum of the medium. So it results in the better maturation. It provides more energy during developmental stage. At the developmental stage is a energy requiring process, and over and above, it also help in the process of induction of somatic embryogenesis. So broadly, osmotic agent, energy source, type of carbohydrate also affects the process of plant growth regulator. They are of course very important. Auxins for the induction we have discussed. Higher concentration of auxin. So induction is achieved by the higher concentration of auxins. We use stronger auxin also. But these are not required for subsequent developmental stages. Globular embryo onward. Culture does not require auxin. So we need to reduce the auxin in the cultures medium. Rather, sometimes the presence of auxin after induction or beyond the globular stage is also inhibitory to the process of somatic embryogenesis. These are not required for pre-embryogenic determined cell. So these cells, they do not require auxin. I told you these cells do not require induction. If they don't require induction, auxins are not required. And auxins are important for the establishment. This is the endogenous auxin. Endogenous auxin is very, very important. This phenomena I have explained to you in my previous presentation at length. That how endogenous IA is important for establishment of polarity that results in the change from radial to bilateral symmetry of the embryo. So cytokinins are important for the maintenance of cell division during embryo development. Now cytokinins are important once we reduce the auxin concentration. The role has been taken over by the cytokinin. The cytokinins become more important. We require faster cell division, growth, and embryo development, where cytokinin play a very important role. And establishment of the root pole and maintenance of apical dominance, all are the phenomena of cytokinins. Ethylene is many a time inhibitory in the process of somatic embryogenesis and other processes. ABA is important during desiccation and dormancy. I have discussed with you. Polyamine play important role in somatic embryogenesis, induction and development. They are very, very important for the induction and development. GA help in improvement of conversion frequency of GAs, gibberellins. They are important when we need to convert embryos to plantlet in many plant species where dormancy is regulated by the GA. So GA are known to break the dormancy, seed dormancy particularly. So they are helpful in the embryo maturation, where sometimes the maturation is a problem. That problem sometimes may be solved by incorporating the GA into the medium. And some of the physical factors also play important role in the process of somatic embryogenesis, and this include light. Light help in induction of somatic embryogenesis, help in initiation. So you see polar transport. We say at one end of the globular embryo polar transport starts. Now what initiate the polar transport there? What result in the triggering the polar transport there? Why not at some other place of the embryo? It is the light signals that provide that signal initially for the development. So initial signals has been conveyed by the light. So that result in the establishment of polarity, and light is also helpful in conversion of somatic embryos into platelet. Temperature help in induction and conversion. I will just show you in some of the slides, maybe in this presentation. Then physical treatment, osmotic and heat shock has also been beneficial for the induction, desiccation and conversion of somatic embryos. So these are some of the factors which are involved in the process of somatic embryo genesis process. So this is a somatic embryogenesis in potato. You can see these are the few group of cells, heart shape, then further growing, torpedo shape, and cotyledonary stage. And this is the diagrammatic representation of the same. One cell, you have globular, heart shape, and mature embryo. And this is the different embryo germination stages in case of potato. And this is a detail of the same. The explants going for the process of embryogenesis, say embryogenesis taking place, germination. This is the, see, lot of places where you have early induction and also the globular stages. This is a globular embryo, heart-shaped embryo, and this is the cotyledonary torpedo-shaped embryo and ready for germination. Now, this is one of the experiments that beautifully explains the process of somatic embryogenesis. Here, what was done? This callus was cultured onto the medium containing no plant growth activity. First thing, this is itself a grade. That's culturing a callus on a medium lacking any plant growth activity. So when this medium callus was cultured onto the medium containing high sucrose concentration, and that resulted and was after 1 week when it was exposed to heat shock treatment only, then we see profuse somatic embryogenesis in this particular callus. So this flask may contain few thousands of somatic embryos. When these embryos were observed under the stereo microscopes, they just looked like this. And then these embryos can be germinated to get the platelet in large number when transferred to the normal sucrose concentration containing medium. Thus, just by regulating the sucrose concentration, we can regulate the all process of somatic embryogenesis in this plant. And same can also be achieved in shoot. When these shoots are grown on high sucrose medium at low temperature, you see the lot of shoots are multiplying. So when these cultures were exposed to heat shock, we see lot of roots. And you see, this is the culture which was put on medium containing 2% sucrose. This is the culture on medium containing 8% sucrose. When exposed to heat shock, you see here very less number of roots, but shoots were very heavy. Here only roots and roots and roots. Cultures are rooting. So this is the phenomena. These are the synthetic seed. We will discuss somewhere else. So it's a beautiful example where regulation of all the morphogenetic processes in glandulus has been achieved just by manipulating the sucrose concentration. Histological studies show of the same somatic embryogenesis showed that some cells, they just start dividing and these cells form globular structures. These globular structures form early heart-shaped structures, which produces ultimately the mature embryo of monocotyledonous with scutellum, plumule, and radical portion. And this is the germinating embryo. And you can see beautifully histology of developmental stages of embryos in glandulus. Then characteristics of somatic embryogenesis mostly differentiate from the surface layer. Somatic embryos, they differentiate from the surface layer. They do not have any vascular connection with the parent tissue. They are an independent structure. They have clear lining of epidermis. So we can see the lump of cells. Okay. So this lump of cell cannot be called it as globular embryo so long as it does not have clear epidermis in it. A bipolar structure with shoot and root ends capacity to undergo repeated somatic embryogenesis, which I have told you in detail. In cultures, these differentiate in groups. So we do not get 1 or 2 embryo in a culture. When they start differentiating, we get a crop of embryos. It can also be produced in the suspension cultures. Advantages of somatic embryogenesis. The fastest mode of regeneration in plants, clonal propagation, one of the fastest mode. These can be generated from the single cell. We can get the embryos from the single cell. Mostly we get it. And therefore we do not get there's less chance of getting the chimeras. Chimera means different genetic makeup in the same organism. These embryos can be encapsulated in gel to produce synthetic seed for the easy dissemination to the longer distances. Then can be produced anytime during the year. Because these can be produced in the suspension culture, automation is possible. In relatively small space, large number of embryos can be produced. In one flask, 1 liter flask, one flask, we can produce 50,000 embryo. So synchrony is possible. Synchrony is possible. Favored mode of regeneration from genetically transformed plants. One of the most favored mode of regenerating, as they get us non-chimeric plants. So since we can transformation events are cell specific, so we can get the non-chimeric plant by the process of embryogenesis as the embryo developed from the single cell. Being bipolar structure, having root and shoot ends, they do not require special step of rooting, and they can easily germinate to get us the plantlets. These are the advantages of these somatic embryos. Then it also have some limitations. All tissue do not respond to the embryogenesis. Chances of getting soma clonal variations are more, as many times it goes through the callus phase. Culture tend to lose. We have discussed that culture lose the potential of somatic embryogenesis. It has not been achieved in many plants, thus we cannot get the embryos. In many cases, the frequency of conversion, that is again a bottleneck that is getting plants from the embryos. We get the embryos, but we don't get the plants, and difficult in mature plants. So that is all the process of somatic embryogenesis. Should you have any question, please ask. Any questions?
No, sir.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
So I end the meeting. You have a next class within 5 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.